Hey everyone, it's Jess from Meyer Hatchery, and welcome to another episode of Chicken Chat. It's April, and we are talking everything coops, runs, and DIY. Today, we thought it'd be fun to share a little bit about our stories on how we built our coops. I'd like to welcome Megan and Lauren to the Chicken Chat. Hi!
Hi, Jess.
How's everybody
Hey,
doing?
Good, good.
Good.
It's starting to be spring, starting to be nice weather. That always makes for better days.
Yeah,
agreed.
absolutely. Yeah,
Agreed.
for sure. No snow, which I'm very
No
happy about. So
snow,
that's
right?
good. That's
Absolutely.
good. So I think before we get started with some of our topics, let's talk a little bit about our coops and how we built them. So let's start with Lauren's.
Okay. So we started with a little tiny like prefab backyard coop that we had for about a year, and it was not very exciting. And then we bought a house and moved across the country. And the previous owners already had a pallet, like barn built. There was a chicken coop and then a goat barn, and we put it back to a chicken coop. But it's like 16 by 16 feet, so it's big. It's a big building,
Yeah.
big pallet barn, and would fit kind of hundreds of birds because it's so high and things can roost all over the place. But it's not very far from the house. It's only kind of 50 feet from the side of the house, and too big to have any sort of run for that many chickens. And so we started off with tons of chickens in there, and it worked excellently well, but they were really too close to the house to free
Mm.
range, and there wasn't a way to trap them. So we have kind of slimmed down our flock significantly, and now have mobile runs with coops, to keep the birds contained, and we'll let them out kind of in the afternoon some, but that's it.
Nice. Sounds like a
It's
good
been our
setup.
chicken coop journey.
Yeah,
Yeah, it is a
Yeah.
journey, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah.
absolutely. Megan, did you want to
You
share
get,
about yours?
yeah, so I think we also started out with just a prefab feed store type coop. And we also were at a different location and decided we loved the chickens and the farm life. And so totally moved, not quite across country, just across Texas, which could be across some countries, but ended up on about 20 acres, a little over, and built a mobile coop out of a cotton trailer. So if you've ever seen like a cotton trailer that holds cotton, it's pretty big. And so we built around that, basically because we didn't want them close to the house. So this is a mobile coop with an empty bottom, not an empty bottom, it has very hardy wire, but we could move it way out in the field and they can fertilize and not come super close up to here. Spoiler alert, they come up to here quite often. But that is our mobile coop, so we can keep it away but still have 100 plus birds. We don't have 100 plus birds right now, but it can easily hold 100 plus birds. So anyway, yeah, it's low maintenance. It's pretty efficient. Um, you know, anyway, so it's a good one. It was a good fit for us. We're constantly evolving, like we're constantly figuring out different things, but that's pretty much our mobile coop in a nutshell. So yeah.
Nice. That's great.
Yeah.
Well,
What about yours?
I started just like everybody else. I got my prefab coop from the feed store,
Same pattern.
for my first year, and actually, we put it up and we thought we had everything great. And that first night, a raccoon tried to pull down a piece of it,
Oh my gosh.
and we learned that everybody was safe. But we learned that first night of, oh my gosh, there is so much more than just this wonderful coop that they said would be good.
Yeah.
So it was kind of a learning process from there. So we ended up buying a second little coop to go with it. We built a covered run. We put a lot of extra predator proofing into it, and it worked out good for a little while. And we just kind of learned like what we liked and what we didn't like. And um, it started to fall apart last year, and we had to make a decision of, are we going to build something big? Do we want something that is permanent, or do we want to go a different route? And our ducks were in, because where I live, everybody's in some sort of covered run. So our ducks were in like a mobile coop that we built last year. And we really liked that we didn't have to clean very much. They would stay in their spot for 3 days, move it, and clean grass, and there wasn't that stinky duck mess that they make. So we decided we want to do the same with our chickens. And we thought about it all winter, and we compared all the great plans that are out there, and what are we going to do? And we looked in the garage or looked in the barn, really. And I was like, I have an omelet. And so we were like, let's just put everybody in the omelets. So we tore down everything. We went straight, which is kind of like crazy to think, but we completely tore everything to the ground, and the entire flock is in omelets. So we have a couple omelets, and everybody's on a tractor system now, so we don't have to worry about, filling
Huge
the run.
messes.
Exactly. And the cost that goes with the run and everything, and the sand that we were buying, and the pine pellets and all that kind of good stuff. So that's where we are. I've said for the last couple of years, I wanted to make it a little bit easier on us and more efficient, like Megan said. So going to that tractor system, finally, yay, is where we're at. We even, like I said, we have the ducks in their own kind of tractor system too. So it's been a lot of learning. We have had so much with predators. We've had problems with the raccoons, with the coyotes. Sadly, we had a mink a couple years ago. So we just learned that we needed to be able to move the coop, and we needed that really strong predator proofing. So that's where our coop is today.
I love it. And the omelet with the predator proofing, what I've seen, it's built in for you. Like us, we have to continually make sure that everything's predator proof, but it just comes that way. So that's cool.
Yeah. We actually have like footage of like a coyote trying to pull the door off the omelet, and it didn't phase the coop at all. So it just works for us, and everybody's setup is going to be a little bit different, and it's
absolutely
going to depend on how big your flock is. Us moving to the tractor system and going to the omelets, I had to control my chicken math. Like, if we were going to go to this new setup, we were not going to add a bunch more birds. And it took me a little bit of time to be okay with that. But I know that my flock is happy and healthy, and I have the right amount of birds in every one of our mobile coops that we have here. So, yeah.
Gosh, that's so hard. Especially, I don't quite have 150, but when you know that your run or your coop can hold 150, it is not good with the chicken math. It is not good.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Especially this time of year.
Oh my gosh. I'm not going to tell you how many I have coming this week, so just move on.
I have a small order coming. A small one.
Okay, what is small? I want to know, what is a small order for you, Jess?
Oh, I have 8, so it's not bad.
Okay.
Not bad at all.
Mine is 26. Well, if you count the meat birds, then it's 50. That's, okay, we're not counting the meat birds and the laying birds. Those are 2 separate orders.
It's two totally different things. They don't count together.
No, they don't. We're just counting the hens right now. That's funny.
How about you, Lauren?
I have meat birds coming in next week, and then layers at the end of April. But also not too many, because trying to control the chicken math.
Keep it down.
Yes. Yeah. Exactly.
It's a true issue. It's not an issue. It's a love.
Right. So there are so many different coop designs out there. It seems like all of us kind of we started with the stationary coops and have went to the tractors, which a lot of people I hear do that, and I think it's really neat. What was something that was important to you when you were choosing your coop design?
I could go first on this one. So ours was the bottom to make sure that the bottom allowed droppings to fall, but not allow predators or anything to get underneath. So it needed to be big enough where the droppings would go through and not like stick and make a buildup, but then where predators can't go through. So we actually lucked out. And again, I don't know if you've ever seen a cotton trailer. Maybe we can show a picture or something of it, but it has tough wiring around the edges. And we actually just used that, and it was seamless. Like, it was perfect to put down, lay down. We have walkways for the chickens, but where right below their roost is that thick, hardy wire, and it just works absolutely perfect. So that was, we did not get a design, like we didn't purchase a design. We just looked at different coops that we liked and that we felt was efficient and would work for our needs, and kind of just built our own. Now it's constantly evolving. We're constantly adding and changing, but that floor has stayed wonderful. We haven't done any maintenance on it so far because it's just falls right through, move it on. It works great. So definitely the floor. Yeah.
How about you, Lauren?
Ours was, I mean, I would say mostly the easy to clean and more of the like automatic things. Like, you don't need to be doing the water several times a day when it gets so hot in the summer, and just fill up the feeders and be done with it. And so kind of anything that helped our efficiency was really our top.
Yeah, absolutely. Cleaning. That was number one for us. Like, just the ease of cleaning. I love my birds, but they leave me lots of presents.
Yeah.
Good and bad. And so just making the cleaning easier. It was very hard, especially as the coop aged with the wooden coop, to keep it as clean as I wanted it. So just being able to make it easy to clean. That was the most important thing when we made our adjustment.
And as I'm thinking of cleaning, we power wash ours. So I'm sure the Omlet power washes a lot easier than the wood does. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And we
it is so nice.
Right. And we have to still, we'll seasonally seal the wood again. But yeah, that makes sense. It's easy to power wash and clean. But I'm glad that ours is in a position where we can also power wash, because there are lots of gifts. That's a good way
on
to put
the
it.
walls. You don't understand.
The
How
wall.
did you get this up the side of the wall? Like, this doesn't make any sense. There's no way for you to get up there, but it's chickens. They'll find a way.
No, that's so good.
Absolutely.
We used one of Nikki. I'm pretty sure it's Nikki. She put feed sacks along the back.
Yes.
And that was also a game changer. Just the ease of take them down, throw them away. So, and you only have to do it like once a year. So,
oh, that's good. We've used the feed sacks for winterizing. So anywhere that there was a chance for a draft, we would use the feed bags. So it's nice to have those, because you're still getting that ventilation, but it's not allowing that
hardcore wind.
Yeah, absolutely. So is there anything you wish you knew before you built your first coop?
That they only use one nesting box. I mean, like, I knew that. We literally have 18 nesting boxes, which is even excessive for the size of our coop. But the way that we were building it, my husband was like, we might as well just keep going, because just fill that whole wall. And they use it's pointless to have that many. Actually, I have two that I know are roosting bars, not nesting boxes, because the presents that are left in there are the bad presents, not the good presents. Anyway, and so there's, certain things like that I wish we would have known. But then again, it's as we evolve, it just gets better and better. So, we've adjusted that too. So, yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think for sure in the beginning, I mean, we've talked about cleanliness several times now, but
Yeah, it's
you don't know how much you're gonna have to clean it. And
Right.
so that like ease of use, like we had started with such a tiny coop that it was like, oh, well, you're still like, it's not gonna be a big deal. But then the pallet barn was awful for cleaning because it was just the sheathing kind of on the inside, like it's built up with pallets and then has sheathing on the inside. And maybe we can put a picture of that too.
yeah,
But and it was like we could pressure wash it, but it was a huge pain. And the big 16 by 16 building was like the time that it took to get that clean was
a
like we were
lot.
letting it go too long in between cleaning because it took so long to do it.
Yeah.
And it just wasn't realistic kind of for which is why we moved away from it.
Right, you just dread getting in there and cleaning it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
makes total
Yeah.
sense.
What
Yeah.
about you, Jess?
I think the biggest thing is building materials. So I did a lot of research, and I thought the coop that I had bought from my feed store was going to last me a really long time. Um, and sometimes you just gotta, sometimes those packages are not right, and sometimes the research is not, right. So we put a lot of effort into those coops. I think going back, if we had stayed with like a stationary coop versus the tractors, um, building one from scratch, I wish I would
Mhm.
have done that. They served their purpose and they were really great, but we did spend a lot of money after the fact adding the additional wire, adding the additional wood. And it's not a bad thing. Like getting a prefab coop and adding to it may be something that is really beneficial for somebody. But I do, looking back, I wish I would have built one from scratch. But it was definitely it was a good learning experience
Yeah,
as
I
far as
think
coops
absolutely.
go.
I think the whole, hindsight's 2020, but you're
Yeah.
like, if you do it right the first time,
Yes.
then you won't have to kind of have the story of, well, we did this and then we moved them here. And
Right.
so putting, it all in from the beginning.
Yeah.
Yeah, and even building this second coop that the big coop we call it,
Hmm.
we didn't want to skimp on it, like saying, because we know eventually if we don't put it in now, we're gonna still have to put it in. I mean, we're still
Right.
gonna have to put the money in it in some form or fashion. So we kind of went ahead and did it the way we were wanting, even if it wasn't a budget friendly. We tried to budget friendly, don't get me wrong, but you
Yeah.
still have to do it right the first time,
Yeah.
is a good way to put it. But I will say this as far as our prefab first one goes, first coop, I still have that. We call it the mini coop,
Hmm.
and that's what I use for my breeder barn. So ours is still up and running. We have made, you know, changes to it throughout the years, but I am with you. If I make a bigger stationary one, like for breeding, if I choose to go more in that direction, I definitely will build my own.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. We did have a small one that was a prefab that was still in good condition, and we did end up moving it kind of like in our barn, and that's the chicken hospital. So
Ah,
if anybody
oh,
has
yes.
to
Yeah,
be
absolutely.
quarantined or anything like that,
Yeah.
then they go there, and it's in a covered place, and the coop is not really like exposed to the elements, so I know it's not breaking down or anything like that. But that's
Yeah.
we do have a chicken hospital that
Yeah.
we use that for.
So
Which I think
so
is
as
you're good.
Oh,
Go
go ahead.
Megan.
so as I think about the different coops and how we were able to build ours, you got an omelet. I think the options out there of what you could do, like you have the omelet. I know Meyer Hatcher, we have the building plans. If you don't have someone who just can think it up in their head, I'm lucky that my
Right.
husband can do that type of stuff. But
Yeah.
to have the plans, we actually have the plans. You can build the coop like that, or options to go with the omelet. Anyway, I just think that it's neat any skill level as well.
Right.
The coop is
Exactly.
out there for you.
For
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
And you were saying, Lauren?
I don't remember, so it's
I
fine.
was just going to say, do you remember?
That's all right. I did want to say one thing that with doing all the coop building was the ducks have been through so many options of coops until we found what worked for us. The chickens were pretty, like their setup worked. We knew how they were going to behave. We knew how much of a mess they were going to make. The ducks, my first year, oh my goodness. I was like, we built them this like fenced in run and we gave them this fancy house. And like within a couple weeks, it was just mud from one end of the run to the other. Like I felt like I was like skating across to go get the eggs from the other side of the area. So with the ducks, they don't need as intricate as a chicken coop. They need that house to keep them safe. They're going to lay their eggs on the ground. So there was a lot of research that went into the research and muddy learning that went in with
research.
with the ducks.
I'm telling you. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. That's
So
another
important.
thing. Like these things don't just pop up. It was for us, especially, it was months of debating what we're doing, researching what would work best, the amount of birds you're going to have, the type of birds you're going to have. Oh my goodness, the weather. So I think that's also goes into a huge, it's a huge factor on how you build your coop and what coop you choose is where you live.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you live somewhere where you're going to need, for us, that was something we learned the first year. We needed to be, I live in the snow belt. I live somewhere that gets a lot of snow and a lot of cold. And we had to have access to an electric waterer. There was no way we were going to be able to change it as much as we needed to. So positioning of your coop and towards water source or electricity or what have you, that's really important thing to keep in mind.
Yeah, that's cool. We are super windy here. So building the mobile coop, we can change directions because you have storms that come in from the north, storms that come in from the west, and we can adjust it. It's a single slope roof to like be more aerodynamic as the wind comes through. So there is a lot of factors that go into building a coop. And I think the most important thing to think of when you are building a coop is what works for you. Don't compare yourself to others. Don't think, oh, well, mine doesn't have curtains. Well, that's someone else's forte. Let it be their forte, and you figure out what works for you. So,
yeah.
I tried curtains. They tore them down on the first night.
They're like, no privacy.
The coop was like, absolutely not. This is not HGTV, and they tore everything down the night. So curtains don't work for everybody.
One night.
That's hilarious.
Or every chicken.
Oh, my flock, I tell you. What is some of your, or what is your favorite addition that you've made to your, sounds like we've all improved our coop. So your new and improved coop. What's your favorite addition that you've made?
Being mobile, being able to move them around.
Yeah, it's huge. Yeah, we actually put an old-fashioned nesting box on the outside of our coop. So, and it's been interesting to see who chooses inside and who chooses outside. And obviously, in the winter, no one chooses outside, but it's just a neat to give them some options to reduce the Easter egg hunt daily. It's funny how just that one simple change adjusted our Easter egg hunt.
Right, exactly. Oh, that's good. I have to say, being mobile, but the other thing is we integrated the auto door and the light into our coops. And that's worked out really, really well for the most part. I'm still training a few silkies, but silkies, I feel like they beat to their own silky drum and do their own thing. But for the most part, they see that light, they go on up and the door closes and it lets them out in the morning. And also just being able to feed and water them easily. We were, with the old setup, it was a lot of, I felt like I was crawling, but I wasn't. But it was a lot of bending and heavy lifting. And after a while, you're like, oh my goodness, this is a lot. So just being able to easily put their feet in, put their water in. I know that they're safe at night. I don't know if either of you use, but we also put cameras
No,
on our
I want
setup.
to.
Yeah. And I
Yeah.
found that it's been good and bad, because in the middle of the night I get an alert at 3 o'clock in the morning, like, there's a coyote running past. But usually they're just running past, or a bird sets it off, but it has been nice to have that option to be able
Yeah.
to watch everything.
Do you have
And
one inside and outside, or just outside?
yeah, we have both. We have one inside and outside, and then we have game cameras like all over
Yeah.
the property as
We
well.
do have
just
game
to-
cameras. Yeah.
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 Yeah. So that's been one of my favorite additions. I can
I
watch
just
my
want to know
birds.
who's laying what. Like, I almost
Yes.
want the camera on the nesting box,
Nesting.
because
Yeah.
I have 70 plus chickens at the moment.
Yeah.
And I just want to know who's laying what,
That would be really
So,
I feel like as technology is growing and increasing, I feel like that's becoming more integrated in the backyard coop.
mhm.
And it's more readily available. Like when we started, adding a camera was not an option. They were
It was the game
expensive.
camera.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But they were just expensive, and it was like there wasn't a lot of wireless options and things like that. So now this year, with doing our rebuild this year, there's so much stuff out there that is so easy to
Yeah.
find, affordable. And I feel like a lot of coop manufacturers are starting to notice that people want a
Yes.
port for their camera, and a port, a nest box cam. I think that's cool. We have one,
Yes.
like, it's in the run-ish area and shoots out, but I do want to, like, eventually have one that, like,
See.
watches the nest box.
Yeah.
And sometimes we
Yeah.
have, like, chicken fights in there, and I want to see who's, like, misbehaving.
Who's
Fruity
the
hen
mean
fight.
hen?
Right,
Or
exactly.
who's eating the egg?
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
a nest box cam, just who's eating the egg. Yeah.
yeah,
I've
absolutely.
got one of those. I'm on the lookout. We'll see.
You're watching them. We'll see. Now you
Watching.
gotta put a whole set of cameras in there.
Yeah, that's how I'll
Yeah.
explain it.
There you
We're
go.
losing income from the egg
Right.
eater. So
One
my
egg.
goodness.
it's all
is
about
worth
how
the
you say it.
camera.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly. Right.
Oh my goodness. Well,
Mhm.
hopefully we've given everybody that's watching some inspiration when it comes to building your own coop. And remember, every coop is a little bit different. The coops that we show on our coop tours, and the coops that we're talking about today, they're inspiration. Like Megan said, you don't want to compare yourself to others. You want to know what's going to work good for you, and do the research, and pick the design that's going to work best for you. If you have any questions, be sure to let us know in the comments below. And thank you so much for watching.